Living in a small town, there's a lot of monotony in the events that happen. To be able to understand the different contexts, passages, or even sentences in a modern book, it's like taking a breath of new life.
They take you to various places you've never been to, you've never seen.
And it helped me become more creative.
They make you meet people you've never met.
It doesn't only just sharpen your imagination,
and also widen my vocabulary.
Literary modernism does not only tackle an author's beliefs or opinions, but I feel like with books, I get to escape reality.
Reading modern books,
I can expand my horizons through the stories of other people. And we, as readers, our knowledge is not only widened, but we now acknowledge the fact that we now have a stand for something. And that's just the greatest feeling ever. To be able to change for yourself, to be able to change for the world, just because of a simple plain text.
The roots of the word dystopia came from ancient Greek syllables dys and topia, which literally mean bad and place. This type of literature commonly shows a dark and unfavorable society characterized by poverty, oppression, or abuse of power, which are often used in science fiction and speculative fiction genres. Novelists use the text to interrogate the idyllic posture of the pre-20th century utopianism. This is due to certain events in the contemporary world, including both cold and violent wars, revolutions or totalitarianism, like Hitler's Germany and Stalin's Russia. In general, dystopia means a futuristic imagined universe in which oppressive societal control and the illusion of a perfect society are maintained through corporate, bureaucratic, technological, moral, or totalitarian control. Dystopias, through an exaggerated worst-case scenario, make a criticism about the current trend, societal norm, or political system. Dystopian literature has usually been a relatively popular medium among people of all ages during the greatest part of the 20th century. During the advent of the 21st century, this began to change. However, when an increasing amount of dystopian fiction aimed at young adults, such as M.T. Anderson's Feed from 2002, Julie Bertania's Exodus from 2002, Meg Rossoff's How I Live Now from 2004, Scott Westerfeld's Uglies from 2005, and many more. The concept of dystopian literature is to not only entertain readers, but to let them understand the ideas and characteristics of a dystopian society. These characteristics are shown through our own society, but at a more drastic level. The reader gains more knowledge by finding ways in which the topics the author writes about is relevant to today's society. This style of writing became popular, for it makes readers think of interesting topics that seem realistic yet fictional. The rising popularity of dystopian literature among adolescent audiences is prominent in today's pop culture due to its relevance in young adults' lives, its direct comparisons to current events in today's world, and its originality in relation to other genres. Many studies have been done to determine what young adults are looking for in novels and how the literature affects the reader's enjoyment. Koss and Thiel analyzed young adult literature to find trends, topics, and writing styles. Koss and Thiel were looking for the popular genres, the groups represented, and the content of current young adult literature. One overarching theme in many of the fiction novels was teens finding themselves and dealing with teenage struggles. The literature tends to focus on the complications teens go through in their normal lives. This is a change from literature that used to focus on a large life-changing event. Most of the literature analyzed was written as a first-person narration, which is consistent with previous research on young adult literature. Cosentile found the current trends to be appropriate for today's young adults. The dystopia genre meets teen readers at a critical point of emotional and psychological development. Reading about risky situations provides learning opportunities and intellectual benefits that risk little in the real life. The iconic adolescent search for independence, self-identity, and purpose are typically present in most dystopian novels. In fact, these conflicts are usually exaggerated. Young adults specifically are attracted to the genre because it so perfectly mirrors the experience of the once vibrant and sinister world of middle school and high school. Authors of this genre appreciate writing about these themes due to the following reasons. One is that it contributes to better world building. A dystopian setting offers a literal world of possibilities. Whether your literary world is governed by anarchy, oppression, a disease that forces its inhabitants to live in seclusion, forced pairings, or generalized fear, the dystopian genre allows you more of a creative liberty to multiply the darkest fears buried in the deepest recesses of your mind and bring them to life on paper. Second is that dystopian literature endorses more female protagonists. From Katniss in the Hunger Games to Triss in Divergent, dystopian novels are rife with strong female main characters who make wonderful role models for young women and have more honorable traits for others to emulate, such fearlessness and strength. Third is that books with overly positive and happy content are quite monotonous and dull for today's readers. People nowadays are after tension, suspense, excitement, or even disturbing and ominous themes that awaken their mind and senses, which can all be experienced in reading dystopian literature. Another is that dystopian literature can be a good ground to play with genres. Romance, horror, thriller, and other genres can be stacked upon dystopian themes for a better content. Lastly is that dystopian literature give off a positive connotation at the end of the story. Heroes rise from oppression, alliances are made, good overcomes the evil. All these themes contribute to a positive moral that will be reflected in the minds of the readers. Though dystopian literature constantly portrays a dark and hostile content, the effect on its readers is often the opposite. As the audience are presented with a negative perspective of what the future could be, if the prevailing societal events continue to put pressure on the world, they become more aware and conscious of their surroundings. Their perspective expands to further paths, new ideas, and endless possibilities, which then influence the way they act and relate with the society. This is proven to be true especially to the youth of today who are into this type of literature. According to the survey conducted by the researchers among the grade 11 and 12 students of St. Scholastica's Academy Bacolod, reading dystopian-themed books elicit curiosity and give them a fresh perspective of what will happen next in the future. Reading books of this genre give them a sense of freedom and excitement, which help them expand their horizons, widen their imagination, and exercise critical thinking. Most importantly, dystopian literature instills a sense of awareness in the reader. It encourages them to act upon worldly issues presented in the books. According to a respondent, the future is always reputed negatively in dystopian literature. I guess these values made me realize that I have to work on preserving what's left of the world's resources so the stories don't come true. Literature indeed has impacted the world. It makes people feel, learn, act, think in a wider perspective, making them realize how the world is so much more than the limitations of the human mind. The evolution of dystopian literature served as a platform for new and advanced ideas that opened the minds of many readers to the possibilities of the future, to the risks and rewards of human actions, to the things people still can do to change the impending consequences that society may face in the days ahead.